She was born to fear cold, but he gave her fire and hope. The wind howled like a wild beast. Snow flew in every direction. Jace could not see more than a few feet ahead. His boots sank deep into the ice with every step. The cold cut through, his suit like tiny knives. His hands were numb. His face burned. Still, he kept walking. Jace was not lost. His scanner still worked. Barely. But the snowstorm was getting worse. He had to find shelter fast. One wrong move, and he would freeze, to death like the others. Suddenly his helmet picked up a strange sound. Cry? He stopped, listened carefully. Yes, a sound. Weak. Soft. A whimper. Maybe even a voice. He turned his head. The sound came from the right. He moved toward it, step by step, careful not to fall into hidden cracks. Then, he saw something in the snow, a shape, small, curled up. Jace rushed forward and dropped to his knees. It was a girl, an alien girl. She had strange markings on her pale blue skin. Her body shook badly, even though she looked almost frozen. Her clothes were thin, not made for this world. She had no gloves. Her lips were purple. Her eyes were half open, staring into the white void. Jace pulled off one of his heat packs and pressed it against her chest. She didn't react. "Hey!" he shouted, trying to wake her. "Hey, don't sleep, stay with me." No answer. Just a soft breath. She was still alive. Barely. Jace looked around. No shelter. No cave. Nothing. Only snow, ice, and deadly wind. He had one option. He dropped his pack and pulled out his emergency kit. Inside was a small foldable heat shield, a fire starter rod, and 3 chemical heat cells. His last ones. He thought he would use them for himself. But now, he used the heat shield to block some wind and started building a fire. The snow made it hard. His fingers hurt, but he worked fast. Finally, crack. The fire lit. Jace pulled the girl closer to the flames. He wrapped her in his extra coat and sat beside her. He rubbed her arms, trying to bring back warmth. Minutes passed. The wind howled louder. The fire flickered. Jace stared at the alien girl, wondering who she was. She didn't look dangerous. She looked scared. She opened her eyes for a second, then whispered something. It was not in his language, but his helmet's translator beeped. Hunted. Jace frowned. "What?" Again she whispered, weaker this time. They hunt me." Then she fainted. Jace felt cold fear in his chest. This girl was not just lost. Someone had been chasing her. In this deadly blizzard? But why? Who would do that? He didn't know. But he knew one thing for sure. She would die without him. And maybe he would die helping her. He looked up at the sky. Snow kept falling. The wind screamed. But the fire was still alive. So was she. And he would make sure it stayed that way. The fire crackled softly in the storm's roar. Jace held his arms around the alien girl as the flames danced between them. Her skin was ice cold even near the fire. Her breath was slow but steady now. That was enough, for now. But Jace knew this heat wouldn't last. He had only 2 heat cells left. On a frozen planet like this, that was like owning 2 drops of water in a desert. If he used them all, there would be nothing left for himself. Still, he placed another cell into the fire. The flames grew stronger. He didn't do it for himself. He did it for her. She was still a mystery. He didn't know her name, her planet, or why she was on this death-cold world. But when she whispered, "hunted," something inside Jace snapped. No one should be hunted in a place like this. No one should be left alone to freeze to death. Suddenly, she stirred. Her fingers twitched, and her head turned slowly toward the fire. What is that?" she asked weakly. Her voice was soft, broken, unsure. "A fire," Jace said with a tired smile. You've never seen one? She blinked. I was told fire was dangerous. He laughed quietly. It is. But sometimes, it saves lives. She stared at the flames, eyes wide. She moved her hand close, then pulled it back fast. It doesn't bite? No, not if you respect it. She looked at him with a mix of fear and wonder. You're not afraid of it? I've made hundreds of fires. This one might be the most important. She said nothing, but her eyes filled with something between confusion and trust. Jace took a protein bar from his pocket and broke it in half. He gave her the bigger piece. She looked at it like it was made of metal. What is it? Food. Not great, but it'll help. She took it carefully and bit down. Her expression changed as the warmth spread through her body. I thought humans were cruel, she whispered. Jace raised an eyebrow. What? The ones who caught me. They wore your colors, spoke your words. They put me in cold rooms, watched me, studied me. Jace's heart sank. Scientists? He asked quietly. She nodded. They called me Phase 3. I think I escaped. Jace stared into the fire. His hands tightened into fists. He had heard rumors. Deep labs, hidden tests on alien species. He never believed them. Now one was sitting beside him, barely alive. They weren't all like me, he said softly. I'm sorry for what they did. She looked at him, studying his face. Why are you helping me then? Jace shrugged. You were freezing and scared. I couldn't walk away. A long silence fell between them. The fire popped. Then she said in a quiet voice, My name is Vina. Jace nodded. I'm Jace. Jace, she repeated slowly. That name feels warm. He smiled. Let's hope the fire stays that way. But just then, his scanner beeped. A soft warning tone, movement. Not far away. Jace looked at the display, life signs, several, closing in. He turned back to Vina. You said you were hunted? She froze. Yes. Well, I think they just found us. She didn't panic. Instead, she leaned closer to the fire. We can't run yet, she said. If I lose this heat again, I'll die. Jace checked the last heat cell. One left. He looked at Vina. She was stronger now, but not ready. He made a decision. We'll make our stand here, he said. He added the last cell to the fire. The flames roared higher, bright and brave, fighting the cold, just like them. The fire was dying, but inside it something else was waking up. Vina's memories. She sat close to the low flames, her arms wrapped tightly around her thin body. Her skin still trembled, but now from more than just cold. Jace sat a few feet away, watching quietly, letting her breathe, letting her decide when to speak. At last she did. I remember lights, white walls, always white. No color, no warmth. Her voice was slow, distant, like she was talking from inside a dream, but Jace listened carefully. They put me in cold chambers, not just once, every day. They said it was a test, a stress trial. They wrote on tablets when I cried. The colder I got, the more they smiled. Jace's hands tightened. Why would they do that? They wanted to see how much pain I could take, she said softly. They said I was perfect. My DNA was stable, strong, but I wasn't strong. I screamed every night. Jace leaned forward. You escaped, didn't you? She nodded. One of the humans. He dropped his key. I took it. I ran. I didn't even know where I was going. I just ran toward cold. I thought they wouldn't follow me into the snow, but they did. Jace shook his head in disbelief. They were hunting you through a blizzard? That's insane. They needed me back, she whispered. I wasn't a person to them. I was a subject. A thing. Silence fell again. Only the wind outside spoke now, brushing across the snow like ghost hands. "I never met a human like you," Vina said after a while. "I never met anyone like you either," Jace replied. "And I think I was meant to." She looked at him. Her silver eyes shimmered in the firelight. "You gave me your coat, your food, your fire, even your last heat cell." "Yeah," Jace said. "Not my best survival plan." "Why?" He thought for a moment, then smiled slightly. "Because I'd rather freeze beside you than live knowing I left you to die." For a long moment, Vina said nothing. Then she did something Jace did not expect. She reached out and placed her hand over his. Her fingers were still cold, but her touch was steady. "You are not like them," she said softly. Jace felt something heavy lift from his chest. Maybe it was guilt, maybe something deeper. But the moment was short. Suddenly, thump, a sound. From outside, they both froze. Then, another thump, closer. Jace grabbed his rifle and checked the scanner. 3 life signs. Closing in fast. He stood and motioned for Vina to stay low. "Stay behind the fire. If they see you, they might try to grab you." She nodded. Her fear returned, but her eyes were sharper now, no longer helpless. The door to their makeshift shelter shuddered. Then a voice came through the wind. "Return the asset, this is your only warning." Jace stepped in front of the fire. "She's not an asset, she's a person." There was silence. Then, a hiss. Smoke burst through the cracks. In the door, Vina cried out. "They're trying to freeze the fire." Jace dropped to the floor and pulled her close. "Stay down." He tossed a small flare toward the gas cloud. Boom. A burst of heat lit up the shelter, enough to burn away the cold mist. For now. But they wouldn't stop, whoever they were. "They'll come again," Jace said, "with stronger weapons." Vina looked at him with fear, but also determination. "I don't want to run anymore," she whispered. "Then we fight," Jace said. He helped her to her feet. The fire behind them was low, but not gone, and so were they, still burning. The fire had gone out. Ash and smoke rose slowly from the burned-out coals. The last spark faded as the cold crept back in, like fingers wrapping around their bodies. Jace stood at the doorway of their small shelter. His rifle was ready. His breath came in short white clouds. His eyes scanned the snowy hills outside. Vina sat behind him, wrapped tightly in his coat, her eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. She wasn't shaking anymore, but she wasn't calm either. "They won't stop, will they?" she asked. Jace shook his head. "No, not after that message. They want you back. They didn't say why. They don't need to. They think they own you." She looked down at her hands. "I was made in their lab. They said I was their property. A cold world prototype." Jace turned to her. "You're not a thing. You're alive, and you're free now." A sudden crack in the snow made both of them jump. Jace raised his rifle and aimed toward the sound. Another crack. Closer this time. But it didn't sound like footsteps. It was heavier. Slower. Vina stood up. "They've sent the trackers." Jace looked at her. "What are those?" "Not human. Not machines. Something worse. Creatures grown in the lab. Made to hunt, made to survive cold." The wind changed. A low growl rolled across the snow. Jace took a step back. "How many?" "I don't know. They never stop. And they can smell fear." Another growl. Then, movement. A tall, four-legged creature appeared through the snow mist. It had pale skin like bone, long claws, and no eyes. Its face was smooth, with only slits for a nose. It walked like it could hear every heartbeat. Then 2 more came behind it. Jace cursed under his breath. 3 of them. "They don't hunt alone," Vina said quietly. "There are always more." Jace looked around. No trees, no cover. Just snow and ice. He grabbed Vina's hand. "We can't stay here. Come on." They ran. The creatures howled. Behind them, Each step felt heavy in the deep snow. Jace could barely breathe. The freezing wind whipped at his face. Vina ran beside him, her breathing sharp, her eyes glowing brighter now. Her kind wasn't made for cold, but they were made to run. The creatures moved faster. Jace turned and fired his rifle once. Crack! Shot hit one of the creatures in the leg. It stumbled but didn't fall. Instead, it shrieked and moved faster. "They don't feel pain," Vina shouted. "Only hunger." For what? Control. They're drawn to what the lab marked as valuable. "You?" She nodded. "Me." Jace pulled her behind a small ridge of ice. They dropped low, trying to hide. The howls echoed again. "I can make heat," Vina said quickly. "But not fire. Something else." "What do you mean?" She placed her hands together and closed her eyes. Her skin began to glow faintly. Soft light flickered from her chest, like a heartbeat made of starlight. Jace watched, stunned. Then her glow spread into the ice around them. Steam hissed from the ground. The cold backed off just slightly. Then the creatures stopped moving. "They're confused," she whispered. "How long can you do this?" "Not long." The nearest creature tilted its head. Then it howled, a sharp, piercing sound that made the ice crack beneath their feet. "They're calling more," Jace said. He looked around again. His eyes landed on a narrow ice tunnel nearby. Dark, but deep. "Come on," he said. "In there." They ran toward the tunnel. Inside it was even colder, but at least the walls gave protection from wind. Jace lit a weak glow stick and held it up. The tunnel twisted far into the mountain. "We hide here?" "No," Jace said. "We move. We find the source." "The source?" He nodded. "The lab. If we're close enough for them to find you, then their main lab is nearby." Vina's eyes widened. "You want to go there?" "If we destroy it, they can't hunt you anymore." She stared at him, silent for a moment. Then she nodded. "Okay, let's end it." Behind them, the howls echoed again. The creatures were still coming. But now they were not just running to survive, they were running to end it. The ice tunnel swallowed them in silence. Jace and Vina walked side by side, their breath fogging the cold air. The glow stick in Jace's hand gave off a faint green light, just enough to see the sharp crystal walls. Every step echoed. Every crunch of snow underfoot sounded too loud. Behind them, the creatures howled again, closer this time. Vina looked over her shoulder. "They're faster now." "They're angry," Jace said. "They smell freedom." He kept walking forward, not fast but steady. His rifle was ready, though he doubted it would help much against things that didn't bleed or feel fear. Vina followed close. Her hand brushed against his arm sometimes, not by accident. They were running for their lives, yes. But something more was happening now. Something quieter, warmer. Trust. Jace had risked everything for her. Fire, food, his last heat cells, and now, even his life. That kind of trust was rare. Vina had never seen it before. In the lab, they taught her fear, cold, obedience. Here, Jace was teaching her something different. They turned a corner and found a narrow chamber, almost like a cave carved by ancient water. It was just wide enough for two people to sit. Jace checked his scanner. The creatures were still behind them but hadn't entered the tunnel yet. "We'll rest here." "Just for a moment," he said. Vina sat down and hugged her knees. "I didn't know humans could be like you." "Like me? Kind. You didn't ask for anything in return. You didn't lock me in a room or poke me with cold metal." Jace sat across from her. "I'm not a scientist, I'm just a supply scout. I came here looking for minerals. Instead, I found someone worth saving." She lowered her eyes. "I'm not special." He shook his head. "You're alive. That's always special." Silence fell again, soft but heavy. Vina looked at his hands, red from cold, shaking slightly. "You gave me everything, even your warmth." He smiled. "That's what humans do when we care." Vina moved closer. The space between them shrank. I want to believe that, she said. You can. Then she did something unexpected. She placed her fingers on his chest just over his heart. A soft glow spread from her hand. A gentle heat. Jace blinked. What are you doing? I'm sharing my energy. I didn't know I could until now, I think. I think your warmth taught me how. He felt it. The cold in his bones began to fade, just a little. Not from fire, but from her. He smiled. I think we're even now. No, she said quietly. You gave me more. Jace looked at her, really looked. Her silver eyes reflected the green glow. Her thin face was tired but no longer broken. She looked alive. I hated fire before, Vina said. In the lab they used it to scare us. Bright flashes, pain, fear. And now? Now. It means hope. They sat in silence again, but this time it was peaceful. Then, crack. The tunnel shook. A deep growl echoed through the stone. They found us, Jace said, standing quickly. Vina stood too, her glow fading. There's only one way forward. Jace nodded. Toward the lab. They moved quickly through the next tunnel section, deeper into the mountain. Soon they reached a strange door. Metal, hidden in the rock. Jace placed a hand on the scanner. Beside it, to his surprise, it blinked green. Access granted. The door hissed open. Inside was warmth, machines, lights, a hallway that led into a hidden research facility, abandoned, but still alive. Vina froze. This is it, she whispered. This is where they made me. Jace stepped beside her. Then this is where we end it. Behind them, the howls returned. The creatures had found the door. Jace looked around. We make a fire here, a big one. Vina tilted her head. Fire? In their lab? He nodded. We burn it all. The files. The tools. The lies. Vina hesitated. Then she held up her hands, and they began to glow again. Stronger this time. Together they walked into the heart of the lab. Together they lit the metal door groaned as it closed behind them, cutting off the sound of howls echoing through the tunnels. For the first time in days, silence followed Jace and Vina, but it wasn't peaceful. It was dead. They had stepped into the remains of a secret. The walls of the lab were silver and smooth, built into the mountain like a parasite hiding in a host. Soft white light still blinked. Power was running, though no one was here. Or so it seemed. Jace tightened his grip on his rifle. This place is still alive. Vina walked slowly, her fingers brushing the walls. Every corner seemed familiar. To her, too familiar. I remember these lights, these doors, the sounds they made when they opened, and when they locked behind me. Jace noticed the scars in the floor, claw marks. Not hers, the creatures. This was where they were bred, trained, turned into weapons. This place wasn't just a lab, he said. It was a cage. Vina stopped in front of a glass chamber. Inside were small beds, restraints, machines with long arms that ended in needles. I slept here, she said quietly. Jace looked through the glass. The restraints still had dried blood on them. His fists clenched. They treated you like an object, he said, like you were nothing. Vina touched the glass. To them, I was data. I wasn't supposed to feel. I wasn't supposed to remember. But you do. She nodded. And now I feel everything. They kept moving, past another chamber, where rows of metal tubes stood upright. Inside some of them, movement. Jace stepped closer. One of the tubes hissed. The frost on the glass cleared, revealing a half-formed creature inside. Long limbs, closed eyes, skin pale like bone. Still alive? He asked. No, Vina replied. Just waiting. Jace lifted his rifle. Wait, she said, stepping forward. Let me. Her hand lit with soft light. warmer this time, but filled with quiet rage. She pressed her palm against the tube. Within seconds, the creature inside began to burn, not with fire, but from within. Its body glowed like hot metal, then went still forever. They built monsters, she whispered, but we're the fire that ends them. Jace looked at her with new eyes. She was no longer the frightened girl he found in the snow. She was something stronger now. Then the alarm sounded. Wee! 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 The walls turned red. They activated. The defense system, Jace shouted. No, Vina said, stepping back. They were watching us. Always were. A voice came over the intercom, cold and calm. Subject Phase 3, you have returned, unexpected, but not unwelcome. Jace raised his rifle. Who's speaking? This is Control. Your actions have triggered observation protocols. Subject Vina, your emotional response to prolonged cold exceeded our projections. Fascinating. Fascinating? Jace shouted. She nearly died. Pain brings clarity, as does survival. Jace turned to Vina. Can we shut this place down? Vina's hands began to glow again. Yes, but we need to find the core, the energy source that powers the lab, and the tracking system. Lead the way. They ran down a hallway lit with red strobes. Sirens echoed all around. Behind them, doors opened. Mechanical steps began following. Security bots, Jace said. They'll be here soon. They burst into a large chamber. In the center was a glowing orb, suspended in midair, pulsing with light. The core, Vina whispered. Jace moved to place charges from his belt, but Vina stopped him. This isn't just power, she said. It's memory. Every file, every test, every number. They stored it here. Jace looked at her. Then destroy it. Burn everything they ever did to you. She nodded. Vina stepped forward, hands glowing white-hot. The core reacted, glitching, flashing. The intercom voice screamed. Stop! We own you. You are not real. You are a product. Vina looked up at the ceiling. I was a product. Now I'm fire. She placed her hands on the core. It screamed. It shattered. The lights exploded. The walls shook. Machines fell. Glass broke. Sparks flew. Jace grabbed her and pulled her away as the room collapsed. We have to go, he shouted. The ground cracked beneath them, but they ran, through smoke and sparks, through fire and falling ice. They reached the metal door, burst through it. The cold air outside hit them like a wave, but it felt like freedom. Behind them, the lab sank into darkness, gone, dead, burned. Vina looked back one last time. It's over. Jace nodded. No, it's just beginning. The mountain was on fire. Behind Jace and Vina, the secret lab, the cold heart of everything cruel and hidden, was gone. Smoke billowed into the dark sky. Ice cracked and melted beneath glowing embers. What was once a place of pain had become a funeral pyre. Jace stood at the edge of the cliff, breathing hard. The cold wind hit his face, but it didn't sting like before. Maybe because the fire inside him was stronger now. Beside him, Vina looked at the sky. Her skin no longer trembled. Her silver eyes were calm, steady. It's strange, she said, softly. What is? Jace asked. I spent my whole life fearing cold. Now it's just air. Jace smiled. That's what freedom feels like. She turned to him. You gave that to me? He shook his head. No. You took it. I just lit the fire. They stood in silence, watching the last lights from the burning lab flicker and fade. The wind carried away the ash like snow in reverse. Then, Jace heard something, a distant hum. He pulled out his scanner. A ship coming this way. Vina tensed. Them? Jace shook his head. No, not the lab. This one's unmarked. Civilian class. Probably from the surface colony. He checked the signal. Could be friendly, could be trouble. Vina's glow returned, just a little. Let them come, Jace grinned. Now that's the voice of someone who knows who she is. The ship landed nearby, kicking up snow, its ramp lowered with a hiss. A woman stepped out, human, wrapped in expedition gear. Her face was surprised but cautious when she saw them. "You're not from the science team," she said. "No," Jace replied. "We're the ones who just burned it down." The woman looked past them at the smoke. "You serious?" Vina stepped forward. "They hurt people. They built monsters." The woman nodded slowly. "We've heard rumors but no proof, until now." Jace handed her a small data drive. "That's from their core, before we melted. Everything's in there." She took it carefully. "I'm part of a truth network. We try to expose things the Federation hides. This is big." Vina stepped closer. "Will they come after us?" The woman looked at her with something close to awe. "Maybe. But now the galaxy knows. You're not a secret anymore." Jace placed a hand on Vina's shoulder. "You don't have to run again." She looked up at him. "Then where do I go?" He thought for a moment. "Come with me, to Earth." Her eyes widened. "Earth?" "There are cold places," he said, "but also sun, oceans, cities full of lights, and people, some good, some not. But none of them will ever put you in a cage." Vina hesitated. Then she smiled, a soft, glowing smile. "Then I'll go. But only if there's fire." Jace chuckled. "We'll light one on every beach." The woman from the ship waved them forward. "We don't have much time, storm's coming." Jace and Vina walked up the ramp together. Inside the ship it was warmer. Not from machines, but from something else. From the people. From her. As the ramp closed behind them, Vina looked out at the world one last time. The mountains still smoked. The wind still blew, but she wasn't afraid anymore. She didn't just survive the cold, she burned it away.